How much do I buy? That's another good question that I get from students who don't really have the purchasing experience when it comes to when they're coming out of restaurants or whatever establishment they're coming from. They really don't know how much to purchase or how much to portion for each guest. Once you learn the math, I advise that you trust the math. And I do it now as well. And my successful students even do it now, that they don't trust their own math, and they end up over purchasing and overcompensating. But I'm sure they find uses for the over purchased product. But over prepared product is something that you're going to just be throwing away or just giving to the guest for leftovers, and that could have been money in your pocket. So I'm going to give you a rough formula or some rough examples on different portioning. And different quantities of various items on your menu to purchase and to plan for when planning your event. If you're really stuck and you don't know in a pinch, you can Google quantities per person if you don't know. And if you do simply go into your Google search box and you type in how much pasta salad for 50 people, or what's the per person portion for pasta salad, Google actually will come up with an answer for you. So don't be afraid to use something like that as a tool as well. Consider the type of people at the party and the amount of items selected. So if you have a party that's let's say it's a bridal shower, the demographic of the shower itself is going to be women, primarily females, and females that are maybe trying to be on their best behavior, and so they're not going to be stuffing their faces as much as a bunch of a crew of construction people or fire people or firemen after a big day on the job. They're going to be consuming a lot more food than a bridal party. I also want you to consider the amount of items selected on their menu. So if they have a wide variety of items, they have 3 different appetizers, they have 3 different entrees, 2 different sides, 2 different desserts to choose from. They have a lot to choose from. So you don't exactly have to have one portion of everything for everybody, and you also don't have to have one full portion of everything for everybody. Now you could dwindle down the portion sizes a little bit when you're doing your math for these events. Obviously, steak is going to be more popular than chicken, is going to be more popular than fish. That should be something in the back of your mind when you're thinking if they have steak, chicken, and fish on the menu. Steak's going to be the most popular item, then chicken, and then fish. So think about it. Think about that when you're thinking about how much to order for and prepare for an event. This is my rule of thumb list here. So this is nice to keep written down somewhere, but you'll find the same information if you Google portion sizes on Google as well. But this is what I've run with for the past 15 years, and it's very accurate. I often don't trust my own math, and you won't either. But it's important to keep note of this. This will get you by. So if you talk about appetizers, right? If you have small pasta hors d'oeuvres or a platter of appetizers, I'd like you to think for at least 1.5 pieces per person. So if it's a single appetizer, there's only one appetizer to choose from. Lean towards the 2 per person amount. And then if you're dealing with a bunch of people who are inexperienced in banquets and catering, and let's say you've sold a cocktail hour for this event before the main meal. Well, in a cocktail hour, people who have experience with banquets and catering know that they're going to get a full meal after the cocktail hour, so they're not going to stuff their face on appetizers. But if you're dealing with people who don't have experience with banquets and catering, and they do have a cocktail hour, consider that they're going to consume more because they're not really accustomed to eating a few appetizers and then having a full meal after. So they won't really be, they'll eat a lot more for appetizers. So lean more towards 2 per person for that. And that's for each item. All right, and if you have like 4 or 5 items in the cocktail menu, you can kind of play with some of them and go down to 1 per person for the less popular items that might be stuffed mushrooms, and lean more towards 1.5 per person for like meatballs or mini meatballs or something like that. When you're talking about meat, 4 to 6 ounces per person is a general rule of thumb. I want you to remember that when you buy meat and you cook it, it shrinks. But when you're determining how much meat to give somebody from raw, I would say 4 to 6 ounces per person. You can 6 ounces per person if it's only 1 or 2 items on the meat side on the equation, and 4 ounces per person if there's multiple choices. Vegetables and starches, 2 to 4 ounces per person. Just lean towards 2. If it's mashed potatoes, I mean probably more like 4 ounces per person. But like, asparagus or grilled vegetables, lean towards 2 ounces per person. With salad and greens, 1 to 2 ounces per person. Don't get crazy there. You can also consider 1 to 2 ounces per person with dressing as well. You don't need much dressing, and when you're really controlling the portions of these events with the plates that you're providing with them. So if you start a buffet off, and we'll talk about setup a little bit too, but you're starting a buffet off with all of the least expensive items first, so that they fill their plates with the least expensive items, and then towards the end you're going to put the proteins and the expensive items, so that there's less room on the plate to put those items. Right? It's a little bit of a setup secret that I want you to follow. Composed salads, let's say it's pasta salad or caprese salad, 2 to 3 ounces per person, because these tend to be very popular